Welcome, everyone, to Know Who I Know, presented by Elevate Relationships, the podcast that dives into the heart of community. Join us as we explore the powerful connections that shape our world, one guest at a time. In each episode, we'll uncover stories of how these incredible individuals made an impact and show you why knowing the right person really does matter. All right, let's get to the show. What's up, everyone? Your boy's back again, William Scarborough, for another episode of Know Who I Know. Today, I have a fantabulous guest. This gentleman I've known for quite some time. He is, how can I describe him? He is John B. I think I want to say John B. Yeah, he's smooth. My boy is smooth. Like, from the moment I met him, he was just something different. He even looked like John B a little bit. But he is just something different. And I just appreciate him being authentic, being himself. Now he's gotten a little older in life. He's burly. And he's just the guy. He is just my guy, my best friend, Bryant Elzey. What's going on, bro?
What's up, man?
How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Man, glad to have you.
Until the intro, I was doing good.
You know the intro's got to be fresh, man.
Yeah.
Man, I just thank you for being on here, man.
Absolutely.
We've known each other for quite a long time.
It's been a little while.
Been a long while. Okay. So, like I asked every guest, so do you remember when we first met?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, boy.
I believe so.
Now, should we put an edited version on here, or this is good?
We keep it.
Okay.
So I think the first time that I met you, I like how you tell it was, well, one of the first times we seen each other and didn't speak. I was over your parents' house, because those who didn't know, when I first started dating my wife, she didn't want the grandparents to know, so I was.
So she was sneaking in my house.
Yeah, she was sneaking.
She
was sneaking around. I was picking her up from over there. All she was good. She was good with it, so I would pick her up. And then I remember one time you used to always tease me because you walked by and all I did was just throw you. You know, that's what I used to do every time.
I remember.
A couple times you came in and I was just like, he a kid, he young, so I would just, what's up. But then,
peace.
Yeah, there was one time when I was going through some things. You'd already given your life to the Lord, and I remember speaking to your mother, and she was like, "Why don't you talk to my son?" And I was just like, "Man, what is this young guy? How can he help me? I got real people problems. How can this young guy help me?" But I'm glad, we talked for a little bit that night, and that was like a seed planted in our relationship. And then, as things progressed and went on, it was, here we are today.
So I think I was 16 at that time. How old were you?
Probably 20.
Yeah, I think it was about 20. Yeah. So it was a 4-year difference between us. And I remember that night because I remember hearing my mom talking to you, and we had like a little grate up, up to the stairs. And I was sitting there, I was like,
"You're eavesdropping."
I was eavesdropping. I was like, "She gonna send him up here to me? Like, what in the world am I supposed to say to this man?" And you came and you sat there, and you were like, "What's up?" I was like, "What's up?" And you're like, "Well, your mom told me I need to come up here and talk to you." I was like, "Talk to me about what?"
Yeah.
And you just kind of had this look, and I was like, so what do you need help with?
Yeah.
And then you started telling me like what was going on in your heart at that time. You remember what you said?
I do remember. It was I remember God was dealing with me about some things, about changing my life, and I didn't know the God was speaking to me because I didn't grow up in church, so I didn't know nothing about that or anything like that. So I remember there was like when your mom told me that, she was like, "Well, that's God speaking to your heart," and I was just like, "What do you mean speaking to me?" That kind of like, whoa, why is he speaking to me? Right. What's for me? I had nothing to offer him. I was just going through all those things, and that's why, because you hadn't been saved too long.
Yeah, I think I was saved.
I think she kind of felt like at that point, like you hadn't been too far past that, so maybe you could.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I feel like I got saved. This is crazy, but I remember the exact date I got saved. It was January the 19th. It was a Wednesday night, 2000 was when I got saved, and I think it was that summer. When we had that conversation. So yeah, it really wasn't.
But I think
long
once
apart.
I actually gave my life to, it was about a year. We're about a year.
About a year.
Once I actually gave my life.
But I remember having that conversation, and you were sharing with me, and it was just like at that moment we connected.
Yeah.
And we started calling each other. That's when you had to pay for minutes on your cell phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, don't call me till Friday night.
You're dating us a little bit.
You're right. I was like, good grief.
I was telling my kids about that. Like there
Yeah.
was a time where we actually had to pay for text messages.
Yeah, they wouldn't have survived.
They would.
Yeah.
But it was like during that time period, like that's when we actually started like connecting.
Yes.
So can you take me through like what was that process of you actually getting saved? Like what was that process like?
Oh man. Honestly, my first experience after that, I felt like God was dropping things to me and I didn't understand it. About changing my life. If you want certain things to happen within your life, then you need to make these changes. That's kind of how God presented some things to me. But I remember my first like true experience of feeling the presence of God. I was over at my homeboy's house. A few of us over there. We were partying, doing our thing, whatever. And I remember going in the bathroom, and I feel my heart just pounding. But just stuff I was doing, it just wasn't good for you. So, man, I went in the bathroom, and I remember I just took water and I splashed it on my face. And when my face came up, and I met my eye to eye in the mirror to myself, I just felt such a shame come upon me for the things that I was doing, and I never felt that before. So I was just like, man, what is this? And I just when I felt that shame, I felt the presence of God. I never felt that before. And I remember right away, I ran to my friend and I was just like, I got to go. And he was like, you cannot leave. He was like, you are in no condition to drive. And I was just like, man, I got to. He was just like, man, I don't want you to, but I can't stop you. So I remember on the way home, driving home, I remember just crying on the way home. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, where is this coming from? And I remember when I got home, when I got to my room, I remember I just laid on the bed and I said, God, I don't know you. I don't know what's going on right now. I said, but I need you. I said, I'm this stuff that I feel, what I feel right now, just like I said, the guilt and the shame that I feel from the things that I'm doing that I said I would never do. I was just like, I need your help. And I remember laying that night and I just cried myself to sleep. Woke up the next day. And everything did not stop. I'm not even gonna front, I didn't stop doing everything, but there were certain things at that moment that began to change.
Right.
Like,
start the process.
Yeah, by me crying out to God, God knew that there was a seriousness about my heart at that time, I believe.
So then you go through that phase. I remember the night you got saved because you came to church that night and it was all written on your face. Like this brother, he's like the Lord was just on him. It was on him, and I could tell. Like you waited around, and then it was like near the end of the service. It was at Bible study. That's what it was. It was at Bible study.
Yeah.
And you were like, you reached over to my grandfather and you were like, I think I want to get saved. And like the whole church went into uproar. Now, mind you, I was a little jealous minded because I'm looking like, ain't nobody rejoice when I got saved. Nobody rejoice. I said, this brother come in here and the whole church just goes up. But it was such a occasion because everybody knew where you came from and everybody knew, what was happening in your life. So that was like the moment where I was like, wow, this is dope.
Yeah.
And then it was like automatic. We just started connecting. One thing I want to ask you if you remember this.
Oh boy.
Don't be afraid. Not yet.
Yeah.
But after you got saved that night, it was probably a week or so later. We connected and both of us had no idea about a Bible. We knew what it was.
Yeah.
You didn't grow up in church. I grew up in church. And I knew some things, kind of sad to say, like my mother was a pastor. My grandfather was a bishop. And I thought Jesus was just a dude growing up. And it wasn't until I actually got saved that I knew. And there was a night where you came over to the house and we sat and we both made a declaration, like, moving forward, we want to know everything about this Jesus that we serve.
Yes.
Like, when we said that, I know what I felt, but what did you feel that night when we made that declaration?
Oh, man, that was foundational for me, like, for my whole salvation. Because it was like, in my heart, I was like, okay, this God that has accepted me for who I am and what I've done, I just want to know as much about him. And like we both had that same hunger. It was just like, man, I just want to know about this God that we're saying we serve. So from that point forward, it was just like when we said that, it was just like that night I was just like, look, I just want to know as much as I possibly can about God because if I'm going to serve Him for the rest of my life, then I need to know as much about Him. And it has stayed pivotal. Like that foundation that we laid at that time has just helped us. Even now being pastors, it's really helped us. Like because there's some things that like. You just go back to in your mind. And I just be honest with you, like, if you don't mind, like, at this point in my life, just being part of ministry, just being saved for so long, I kind of find myself searching for that again, you know, you know what I mean? Because
rekindling that fire.
Yeah, because it seemed like when you're in something for so long, it seems like you got to, you know, just like with a marriage, you got to keep things fresh. You got to keep things. So I'm kind of at this point in my life, like going back to some of those things, and that shows that those things were pivotal to our life because those are things that I'm going back to where like I can say, okay, this worked before, so I know that I can do this again.
And one of the things, and I agree, man, I find myself in that space, you know, even here lately, same thing. What helps me, I find myself like reconnecting with the things that help create that fire.
Yes.
One of the things we were big on gospel hip hop, and we were ostracized for years. Yes. Because for me, like listening to choir music didn't cut it. No. Gospel hip hop, it was. I lived hip hop. I felt like I was hip hop, even though I couldn't rap. I felt like I was hip hop, but it just spoke to me, and listening to it took me into worship faster than anything else. Yeah. So I found myself recently. I've been going back listening to the old stuff.
Cross movement.
Oh my God, cross movement is amazing.
Cross movement, the truth. Yes. I do that from time to time as well. It's just like it just kind of takes you back, but not just like trying to take you back. Oh, this was a good time. It's just like.
It reconnects you.
Yes, exactly.
One of the things that came to mind in the scripture, it talks about how going back to the old landmarks and not necessarily to recreate, but to remind yourself of where you've come from and what has happened to show you where you should go forward. Yeah. And I think that is very pivotal. And that point in our lives really changed some things because I felt like for myself, after we made that declaration, I went back to school. And it was like I became an evangelist out of this. I mean, it was just out of nowhere. Yeah. You know, it's like a fire started. I started evangelizing in school. You were evangelizing at work. And it got to the point where people got sick of being around us. Yes. Because every time we turned around, we just went talking about Jesus. Here they come. Here go that white boy. Yeah. Here he go. Talking about Jesus. But it was something that it just spewed from us because it was such a life change. So moving forward a little bit, we found ourselves, we made that declaration, we started digging in the word, and now we're starting to find ourselves getting planted in a local church. Can
I say one thing real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
When you say digging, I just want to make it clear, like, we were digging.
Yeah.
I mean, like, every night, 3 or 4 nights a week.
I'm glad you said that, yes.
Like, I mean, we were digging, like, we were in the word till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Like that was when you said digging, like we were looking, you know, as the scripture says something about the mysteries of God, we were looking for we were digging.
And I think the funny thing was like a lot of stuff we didn't understand that we uncovered. Yeah. I say uncovered because it was stuff that you didn't hear people talking about in church. And it was like we had no knowledge, but we were like, I want more of this stuff. I want more. So we found ourselves in that position and now we're getting planted in the local church. How would you describe like that transition going from these kids on fire basically to now we're getting planted in a local church?
You mean as far as like becoming positions within the ministry and things like that?
So because it basically went from we were evangelizing really just out for Christ. Yeah. And then we got in our local church, which is a home church. And we're starting to learn the regulations of what church is. Like, how would you explain that experience for us?
It was good to feel, because I feel like, especially when you're coming from the streets and things like that, you need to feel a part of something, because if you don't feel a part of, then I believe you tend to go back to those things that you didn't. So it was good to be a part of, but some things became problematic because of the fact of how we were digging and the things that we were looking into and things like that. And it was kind of like, we kind of found ourselves like, man, I know more than some of these people have been here for a long time. And just being real, like we kind of found ourselves on that end of the spectrum. So it was kind of like,
so you were a hypocrite,
or I was,
or how about you were a Pharisee?
Yes, I would say for a period of time that could have been a label that was, yes, I wore the word and all those things.
But you know what's funny? It was funny during those times, like looking back, like we really were sitting on the front row with our Bibles, like challenging everything preachers would say, challenging everything people would even quote. And we were like, that's half a scripture. What are you talking about? That's out of context. You know what I mean? So it was,
if it was wrong, look at each other.
We're like, nope, we got to go study that. You know what I mean? But it was a crazy time period. So then we found ourselves like we're getting engaged in that way, and I can speak for myself. Like my heart was starting to get hardened to the place where I was very judgmental, and now I'm the only one saved in the church.
Other than me.
We were the only ones
most
saved.
of the time.
Most of the time. Our wives were halfway saved.
Half?
I say half.
Half?
I'll give Ebony half or a quarter.
Yeah.
But it was like it was really, really rough, and it was to the place where we were even unbearable to ourselves.
Yes.
Like, explain that part of our story.
It was. It's good to be able to look back on it and laugh about it, you know, because I believe we learned a lot at that time. When we got delivered from that time, we learned a lot about it.
Got delivered.
It was bad. It was like when you say, I mean, like judging pastors that were coming in preaching, and you know, or ministers that were with pastors and things. It was just, you know, us being armor bearers. So we were behind the scenes, so we would go into the offices, and we would hear other people talking. And, you know, it's just like you would just judge everything. And you know, I'm just thank God for not being there anymore, because that is a bad place. Like when you were actually, I mean, there's one thing to be curious, and I believe that's one thing. I was curious when I first got saved, and I wanted to know about the Spirit. I wanted to know about the Word, so I would look at things and I would break things, and I would kind of ostracize something. You know, just kind of like, is that? I would question a lot of things. But when you're questioning things out of curiosity, and then you're questioning things out of you think you know everything, they're two complete different things. Because then definitely. You're like when you're questioning them out of thinking you know everything, then you're judging, you're being judgmental, and that was the seat that we sat on for a while, was just being just a judgmental spirit, like you said. And then nobody was anointed singing, nobody could preach, nobody, you know, it was just other than the bishop in the past, you know, that other than them, nobody else was right.
The bishop was high. We raised him up high. So, like, what do you, from your perspective, like, what was the thing that helped break us out of that? Do you remember?
I just feel like God just started, through the Word, God just started showing me a different way. Like, just even about some of the things that we were taught, and some of the things just that we, you know, had held on to. Like, God just started just revealing through His Word a softer stance on things. Not softer, you know, God's Word is God's Word, but just a different way. Like, everything isn't fire and brimstone. Like, there is because that's what I felt like, you know, we stayed on for so long, was just the fire and brimstone of God. Like, if you're right, you're going to hell. You know, that was just it, you know. But then God just began to show that loving aspect of it. Like, you know, you forgot about the love and kindness that drew you off the streets, you know what I mean? And God just, and really that conviction of that, like when God started showing you, like turning the mirror around to you and showing you like what you've become. And it was just like, you know, your intentions were good, but you done missed the mark, like way off. Right. You know, and then that's kind of where I believe the turn took place.
Because honestly, man, like we did not operate out of grace and love. And
there was no grace.
There was no grace at all, man. It was, even with I felt like the only grace we showed was to ourselves, because
I don't even know if we would even say that, because I didn't feel like I did much wrong. So,
but I'm saying, we didn't do much wrong. But it was we gave ourselves a pass.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
It was like,
happened, that was nothing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
God understands that one.
Yeah, that was when I was able to fast 40 days. I don't know when the last time I did 40-day fast. 40 days in a row. You remember we used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
We were very skinny.
That was a lot.
We were skinny. We were skinny like Tim. But that's a long time ago. But yeah, so it's like, you know, we went through that phase, and we finally found ourselves becoming enlightened. So as we were becoming enlightened to, you know, where we were and God really convicting us, that transition, even for those that were in the church, was kind of difficult too. Because now we understand, through God's grace and mercy, we're allowed to see things differently, have different perspectives, but we all come to the end conclusion, which God wants us to be.
Can I interject one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Before you move on, I didn't want to.
No, go ahead.
When you say some of the things that were pivotal to me, to the change that took place at that time, I do want to interject. One of the things was, because we joked about it, how we said our wives were like half saved or whatever.
Yes.
But I remember one instance, like we were going to leave church. I remember I got in the car, my wife was sitting there crying. And I'm just like judgmental, like, man, what are you what's wrong now? Like,
Right.
just like, man, what's going on now? And then like when we, she starts talking and saying things, she was just like, I see you prophesy to people. I see you pray over people and you speak over people. And she said, and I'm literally sitting next to you dying spiritually and you haven't said a word to me. And I mean, oh man, that was like one of the things God used. I mean, I love my wife. So that was just like, oh my goodness, to hear that come out of my wife's mouth, like, oh wow, like that, like broke my heart. And then that was like another thing that really kind of got me like, what are you doing? Like, kind of thinking to yourself, like, what are you doing? Like if your wife is sitting here, that's, you're supposed to make sure she's okay above all else, so that was like a big eye opener as well in that situation.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll share from myself. I think the biggest one, my wife, we had kind of the same experience. And another one was I had a drunk man school me on what I thought I knew was the word.
That.
You know what I mean? And when he did it so effortlessly where I was sitting there like, dude, you really don't know what you think you know, And it wasn't that I didn't know, but it was just the way I was using the word. I was using it more of a weapon than I was a tool,
Bible beating.
Boy, I beat you with that word, buddy. You know what I mean? But it was, I think sometimes we take for granted God's grace.
Yes.
And how his grace comes in those moments and kind of bring an enlightenment. And for us, it's a soft enlightenment because when I say soft, meaning like some people have like, God has to really do some damaging things, allow some damaging things to happen to get people's attention. But with us, there was these moments where we kind of came to ourselves kind of quickly. And I want to also say what even got us to that point is when you have yes men in your corner and people to not challenge.
It's not good.
What you say, you know what I mean? Because we had a lot of people, we were kicking out knowledge, kicking out facts, but we're telling people and entrusting in people who themselves don't even have accountability.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that doesn't help. And it only made, as Jesus said, twice the sons of hell that you are. And I felt like we were going down a path that was kind of getting us away from what God was actually calling us to. So now we're going to this space where we've had this enlightening moment. And now things are starting to shift in the ministry that we're a part of. How would you explain that time period that we read? Take your time. I'll drink my tea.
Oh boy, it's at that point. I mean, like you said, it was just another shift and another move. I remember one of the people that constantly spoke over us was Apostle Williams out of Seaford.
Yes.
And I remember he spoke over both of us several different times. I remember the first time, one of my first conventions that we ever, every year we had the convention. I'm fresh saved, and he comes up to me, lays me out in the spirit, and he's talking about you gonna be a white preacher, and everybody. It's funny because everybody held on to that, from that first time. I hadn't even saved a year hardly, and everybody's the white preacher, that you gonna be the white preacher, and I'm just like, man, I'm barely saved. Like, what do you mean preaching? What is this? Hold on. But I he spoke over both of us, a lot. So it was truly a transition when you go from, like you said, that enlightenment, and now even through our time where we were kind of like the judgmental thing and things like that, we were deacons, and and that was worse because we were going back to counting the money.
Yes, sir. And we
talking
about everybody.
Adding more to it. We would talk about, that was our.
You should have gave more of your time.
Yes, that was our first instance of we go to the back office while everybody else still out there. That's the first chance we get to talk about everybody, and we get to do.
We were such heathens.
Yes, but like you said, God, I thank God for that foundation. Like you said, I know during that, it was hard. It was like a hard preaching style, whatever. But I truly, truly thank God for that. Like I said, that's part of my foundation. A lot of people, when they hear me preach today, they're like, "Oh, you got that old school, whatever." And I'm just like, man, that's me.
Yeah.
And it really, really, I believe it's helped us in tremendous ways. It helped us to find out what not to do, also, as well as
what to do
foundationally, like things to stand on and everything like that. And I that's those things that I thank God for, because every lesson that we go through isn't always about learning the great things. Sometimes we gotta learn some things about, like, okay, now that I've experienced this, I'm not gonna do this when I get in the same position. And I believe that was a good learning experience too, as well.
Got you.
Going through those phases.
Got you. So now I want to step a little further. So we started transitioning. We got ourselves we got saved for real again.
Yes.
Again, this is our second salvation at this point. Maybe 3.
Yeah.
Maybe 3. Okay, so we got saved 3 times. Now we're in a better space. Things are growing, and we decide, okay, now we have to leave our home church. At the time, my grandfather passed away.
Yes.
And leadership change. It wasn't a bad thing. Like, you know, our pastor at the time, he did what he knew to do. But it was at the place where we really were growing and expanding beyond the church that we were in.
Yes.
And you leave before I do, and then I eventually leave, and now we're pastoring on our own. How would you explain that experience?
Oh man, scary. Lord, I don't want to say eye-opening because I don't feel like my it was just like it was. I really at that time I felt like almost like you were riding on a cruise ship and you get thrown overboard, and it's like we're gonna go about another mile, then we'll throw the life raft for you. You gotta at least get to the life raft. You know, it just felt like that. I just felt like there was so much that. As much as I thought I knew, I realized I didn't know. And at that point in my life, I was still very timid. I was still very, you know, I didn't like stepping out. I would always have like, even at times, like I said, at that point, when we first started, like you were there with us, and I was just like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And then I would do the same thing to my wife, and I always be, as long as you're like, she's here, I'm cool. But then when you have to do something on your own, it's just like, stammering and fumbling and things like that, because I just really didn't have much confidence within myself. And that was a struggle that I was dealing with during that time, was like, man, am I really equipped to do this? Should I even be doing this? I truly believe that God ordained and God called, but it was just like all this was going on in my mind at that time. Like, man, do I really even know what I'm doing? It's just like, I'm trying to find my way. We were just trying to find a way through that whole period. Like, there was a lot we didn't know. And then and the bad part about it was, this is not throwing any shade whatsoever, because when we left our home church, people ostracized us, and they looked at us like the people that we had dealt with for all these years and went to their churches and danced and done all these different things. Now it's like, y'all are heathens. Y'all are just now y'all. You know what I mean? I rember one pastor came to me in the middle of Walmart and rebuked me.
I remember that,
and told me like I needed to go back to where I came from, and I'm just like, man, that's over and done with, sir. Like, we're not. That's not it anymore.
I remember that.
So it was tough. It was interesting.
It was. Because at that time, we were when you left first, we came to your church right after that. And I remember I met up with there was a woman by the name of Apostle Hemian, and not knowing like what she was going to help my wife and I do, and she really opened my eyes to what ministry really is. You know what I mean? Because at the time, like you said, we jumped out there. We really didn't know. We knew what we were called to do. We didn't have the proper guidance on how to, really do what we wanted. Not do what we wanted, but what he was calling us to do. And she kind of grabbed me and kind of was like, "Look, son, I need to help you." Now, this is where it gets tricky. Because at this point, there's a rupture in our relationship.
Yes.
Like, you felt away and I felt away, and I was like, "Now hold up." I mean,
mind you, we're working at the same place at this time.
We're working at the same
company at this time,
seeing each other every day. I'll never forget. I take full responsibility for this. The worst thing I could have done was we were Apostle Him, and we had talked to her, and she said, "God's calling you to pastor," and I was like, "Yeah, but I'm at my boys' church right now. What am I supposed to do with that?" And she kind of gave me instruction on how to do it, but I jumped the gun. You had just came back from a long route, stepped off the truck, and I was like, "God's called me to pastor, I'm leaving." And you looked at me like, "For real?" Like, no conversation, no nothing. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gone." And the next week, I was gone.
Yeah. And mind you, y'all weren't there that long.
But, it wasn't that long,
like,
but we knew it was going to happen, but it was the way.
A pit stop anyway. But to be honestly and to be clear with the whole situation, it was still, once again, at this time, like, I'm pastoring, but I'm dealing with a lot of internal struggles myself, because what the rift really came from was I felt like you left me like everybody else did. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm trying not to cry. That's why, like, that's where the rift really came from, because I felt like at that time, like, my father left me when I was young. Seemed like every important person like that I got in my life that I felt like was a rock that I could hold on to. At one point or another, just ends up kind of kicking me to the curb. And so that's where that came from at the time. So that's why I looked at you as like, man, you left me. You know what I mean? Like, you're like everybody else.
Right.
You know, so at that point in time, that was my view. And like, I'm a stubborn dude. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So like, you know, I held on to that. Yeah. So I held on to that. You know what I mean? I just held it, you know. But you know, thank God for just.
But we were in that space for what, like 4 years? Was it that long?
Because we pastored for 6.5 years. So
it was probably about 6. That was that long?
Yeah.
Dang, it don't seem that long.
Yeah, about 6 years probably.
But it was like during that time, like, because we had to go to all the family events together, all the dinners, and we like. And it was
like we were cool, but we weren't close like we were. That would be the best way to describe it.
Yeah, that's
like
after
a little bit of time went on, like we were cool. I mean, we laughed and we cut up and everything still, but it just wasn't the same. Like you knew. It just wasn't the same. Yeah.
And the crazy thing was, like, our kids were so intertwined with each other.
Yes.
Like, I felt like that's what really
and we
held us together.
Building
behind each other.
I'm like, you leave me.
We work together.
You leave me, but I can't get away from you. I'm like, my God.
So it's like we work together, we live behind each other, and our kids will love each other. Yeah. So it was like we were always connected. And one thing that I think was really crucial was our wives stayed connected during that time period.
Yes.
And like it was on one ear, Ebony was like, "You need to talk to Bryant," and Nikki's telling you need to talk to.
And they weren't the only ones.
To Will. Yeah, I was like, everybody was, but I was like, "No, I ain't talking to him." You know what I mean? And you were saying the same thing. It was like over time, and you ended up going. I don't want to go too far, but it's like we were both pastoring for like 6 years. We ended up shutting down. And you ended up closing your doors.
Yeah.
And when we say that, like, it wasn't like we just quit, but it was so much involved, and it was
decision.
It was a very conscious decision because honestly, there was so much about ministry we didn't know financially and everything else.
Absolutely.
That it was more of a weight than what it should have been. So you ended up going to one church in Seaford, and we ended up going to a church in Salisbury. And I remember there was a service where my pastor came to me and he was like, you know, God's letting, you know, dealing me saying that, you know, Bryant's going to come here. And I was like, no, he ain't. I said, he's not. I said, if I'm here, he's not coming here.
Yeah.
I said, he's not going to come here. And he was like, I know what God's speaking to you. I said, yeah, I believe you. But if you say so, we'll let that go. And I don't remember the exact date, but there was one time where we both actually sat down and talked.
Well, even before that, when y'all were going there, I remember the first time your wife preached, because y'all been there for a little while.
I remember that.
And the first time she preached, y'all invited us.
Yeah.
And y'all were like, man, it's so cool. Da, da, da. And I was like, they trying to get us to come here. Like, what's going on? You know. And then I remember we went. I was like, oh, it's cool. And then nothing else was really said about it after that.
And I can't remember when it was. It wasn't that long after that. We actually had a conversation where we sat down and we just put everything out on the table.
Yeah.
And when we got to the bottom of it, it was like, dude, this was so stupid. We wasted 6 years off of something so stupid. And I don't know about you, but it was like once we reconnected, I think it's stronger now than it was before.
It was even now, because we both go to the well, so we're both at the same church. So it's just like the thing of it is God knew what had to be done.
I gotta tell you this. So you ended up coming where I was. I just want to make that it's on the record. He followed
eventually.
Me. No, he followed me. We heard it. Go ahead.
Eventually. You made me lose my train of thought.
I'm sorry. You came to the well. You said you came to the well.
Oh, because we're both pastors now at the same ministry. So, but it couldn't have happened unless things happened the way they did.
Yes.
Because at that point, if it would have happened when God spoke to Pastor Tim, it wouldn't have worked.
Right.
It would not work. We would not, like, now it's like flawlessly working together. Like, there is no, part of a team to where there is no jealousy or anything like that. It's like, and that was a thing before. I remember, and this is a funny thing, like when we both had our churches, I remember like we would talk at work and you would be like, I had 4 visitors this week. And I would be like, well, I had 6.
I remember.
I'm saying, me and you sitting here doing this back and forth every so often, like we sit here just back and forth. Like I had like 6 visitors. I said, oh, I had 6 and a baby. You know, I'm just like, so I had 6.5 just to say I had more than you. You know, and it's like, this is what we're doing. Like, you know, this is what like we've been like, and this is like, we're pastors. Like, we're sitting here doing this rather than, like you said, sitting down having a grown conversation. Like, this is what we're doing.
Right.
And like, but it's amazing to see like how we were then to where like now it's like, man, it's like, when you preach, I'm your number one fan. Like,
same here, bro.
Yes, number
same
one.
Here.
Even more than your wife.
Even more than her?
Yes.
Oh man, my guy. I'm the same here.
Yeah. So it's like,
here.
you know, when that's how it is. There's no jealousy. It's just like, man, I push you, I celebrate you. But like before, until God had changed some things around, it wouldn't have been able to be that way.
And I'm just grateful, man, because where we are, I think, number one, what kept us together was our love for the Word. Our love for Jesus himself.
Absolutely.
And having our relationship built on that, I don't think nothing can come in the way of that.
Oh, no.
And seeing, because now it's like I get to see you evolve, because seeing you through your process and now seeing you at a later stage in your life and seeing you evolve into who you are, it's breathtaking, man.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoy it.
I feel the same. Even like before, when we were first, you know, getting into it, like we looked at ourselves like David and Jonathan. That was one thing, and I believe somebody prophesied to us and said,
I remember who it was. It was Ronnie White. Ronnie White prophesied to us. We are David and Jonathan. He said that no matter how far apart we go, we're always going to come back together. And
it's happened. I mean, it's just been that way. That relation. I don't know if I would be King David and you would be the son of Saul.
Lord forgive us.
I don't know if I don't know how you
son of Saul. Oh, hold on, I just caught that. Now I'm the bastard child.
So I don't know, or you may even look at yourself as King David.
Okay, I'll allow you to think of yourself as David, but we all know who David is.
Okay, yeah.
We know who David is.
Yeah.
Man, but I think it's so amazing, man, and to see where we are, it's been fantastic, man. So I want to get to the final part of the interview. Okay. And this is true or false.
Oh boy, here we go.
True or false? Here we go.
Okay.
So the first question is true or false? Did you play basketball as Dan Marley in the men's church leagues?
I wasn't. Let's get it straight. I wasn't cosplaying or anything like that. But I would occasionally, you know, kind of refer to myself in the third person. Thunder Dan.
This boy was sitting in the corner.
Absolutely.
The whole game, he would just run to one corner to the other, and he would just shoot threes. I knew hands down where you were standing. I would throw it over the back, around. Yes. I just knew where you were.
You would be doing all the work, out of breath, huffing and puffing. I'm just like,
every time. Oh man! All right, another true or false. True or false? You used to be a praise dancer.
Yes.
Okay.
And my kids still don't believe it to this day.
They don't believe it to this day. Well, kids, don't worry. I got footage. I'll make sure I bring it out. Now, with that being said, true or false, did you go by the name Harvey Watkins Jr.?
We didn't need it wasn't, there was never a Watkins Jr. was not necessary. I was just Harvey. That was it. Yeah. Everybody we would go. This is funny because we would literally go to other churches and we would minister, and people literally didn't know my real name.
They did not know your name at all. They did. Everywhere we went, they would just call you Harvey.
Yes.
They did not know your name. We were like, his name is Bryant. They're like,
who's that?
No, he's Harvey. Everywhere we went, your name was Harvey. All right, one more true or false. So, true or false? Do you have rhythm?
Can I ask you a true or false real quick?
Oh, boy. You got to answer mine first.
I will, but...
Okay,
true or false? You got jealous of Harvey.
Okay. Let me be honest. Community, let me be honest. I was furious that I had to dance next to Harvey. I was the one putting my heart and soul in all of these songs. I came up with most of the choreography. Yes. I came up with the stories. And every time I danced, I didn't get one hand clap, not one amen, not one go brother. But the moment this man took the stage, Everything was. He is the reason why we actually were on TV.
Yes.
He is the reason we were on TV because he was the only white man doing a praise dance in a suit. A suit and tie. And most time he wore lime green. Don't know why he wore lime green, but he wore it all the time.
Like a highlighter.
And everywhere we went, he got praised. And as soon as the song was over, everybody's like, man, Brother Harvey, you did a great job. And I'm like, well, Willie Neal Johnson standing here and he don't get nothing. Every single time. I hated it.
So yes, you got jealous.
I did get jealous.
Okay.
I go
okay.
I got
now I will
jealous all
answer
the
your
time.
truth. Yes. It is true that I have rhythm. Yes.
You do have rhythm.
Yes.
Have you always had rhythm?
Yes.
So now I have to ask you another question since you opened that door.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you were in the streets, did you dance a lot? Or were you a two-step?
Can I answer this truthfully?
Yes, all we want is the truth.
When I used to go out to the club, I didn't dance at first, but by the end of the night, I would.
So once you got spirited,
yes,
you would dance.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Oh,
so I would be
goodness.
literally the one or two little specks of white.
All I'm gonna say is, you made me famous back in the early 2000s. That's all I can say. Because of you, people know who I am. All because of Harvey. Remember that, Harvey. His name was Harvey.
Glad I could be of assistance.
Yeah, I love you, bro. Man, I want to thank everybody having my boy on here today, Bryant Elzey. We've been doing life for a very long time.
Absolutely.
And hopefully I'm going to bring you back, bro. We got to talk a little
absolutely.
more. Because
Anytime.
there's many more stories I like to share that are hilarious, some stuff that we experienced. But I'm just grateful to have you on here today.
Man, I'm glad to be here.
We love you guys. And now you guys know who I know. Bryant Elzey. See you next time.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Know Who I Know. I hope you found inspiration and value in today's conversation. Don't forget to connect with us on social media, Everything Elevate Relationships. Like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Elevate Relationships. Until next time, keep building those connections and remember, community is everything. And now you know who I know.